Good morning. Today is Monday, the 1st of June, and the weather is finally warming up. Well, actually, I guess it's been warm for a little bit. And so hopefully you are nice and cozy as you are driving to work or listening to this on a Wednesday evening. I don't know where you are at in life right now, but all I know is that you are with us, and that's all that matters.
It's my daughter's birthday.
Today?
Yes.
June 1st?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
I don't. I think you say happy birthday.
No, I know that, but it's not your birthday. So what do I say to you as the father? I say congratulations.
Happy birthday to her, I guess. That's what you would say.
My greatest congrats to you and your daughter. Milestone. 4 years old.
Yes.
This is the big leagues. So
Big 4.
big 4. That's not a saying.
It might be.
This morning we are talking about church. I mean, we always do, I guess. But I guess more specifically on what is this on? I don't know how to more specifically on friends in the church, fitting in at church, being comfortable at church. I'm not talking about our chairs because our chairs probably are the most comfortable.
What? No?
Our church is known for that.
Oh, you mean in the sanctuary? Yes.
Yeah.
I was.
In my house,
These chairs are not comfortable.
The chairs that we are currently sitting on, no. Budget. The churches that our congregation member sits on, extremely comfortable.
Excellent. Yes,
Excellent.
they're very expensive.
Very expensive. Very
The
nice.
pros is because these chairs are so uncomfortable, we can't have a very long podcast. People wondered why our podcast is an hour and a
People
half
have asked
because
that
you
to you?
can't sit longer than an hour here.
You throw your
Yeah.
back out, you throw it out. So it's not
So
good.
that's why our podcast is limited to an hour and a half.
It's true. I don't know if that's the sole
Don't.
reason, but
It's a reason.
But it is a reason. And we are talking about feeling comfortable at church. How important is that? What does that even mean? Where does that come from? We're talking about church and maybe even some friendships at church. We're discussing that and a little bit more this morning on the Dear Church podcast. You are listening to the DCP. Welcome to the Dear Church podcast, where we exist to fill your ears and your minds with the study of God to see the world as disciples of Christ. My name is Sam Yang. We have with us Pastor Eugene and Chunzok and Brian. And today, again, we are talking about feeling comfortable at church, what that means, what that looks like, if that's really a good thing, if that's something that we should be striving for. And so we'll talk about that this morning. Before we start, though, are there any announcements, Pastor Eugene?
Yes. It's almost our 250th anniversary. So I have this red, white, and blue
Of
monster.
America?
Yeah.
Okay. We're not even sponsored by them.
No. But let's see how it tastes.
I already
You can't even take a sip?
I had a Red Bull.
All right. The three of us will. Oh, yeah.
Does it taste like freedom?
It does.
I bet it does.
Voice gets all down here. Oh, yeah.
I don't know what blue raz is. Raspberries aren't even blue. Raspberries are more like deep purple.
It's raspberry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
How can people say raspberry?
I don't know. Well, no one says that.
So I guess on talking about whether a church is a good church or a bad church, we've done a couple different episodes on this topic, the marks of a healthy church, what that even means, preaching, sacraments, discipline, and we've gone into detail on those separate aspects. But I think oftentimes people will talk about a church being a right fit. I've heard this multiple times where people are saying, I'm just looking for the right fit, or this isn't the right fit, or this is the right fit. And I think oftentimes people are looking to feel connected at a church. So I guess the question is, and we'll kind of hit the ground running here. What does that even mean, by the way? I never know what that meant.
Yeah. Me too.
Where are you falling from that you're hitting the ground, and why are you already running midair?
Yeah. Let's do the jokes. We each get to tell a joke, and then we get to rate it.
Okay, I don't have a joke, but
You don't have a joke?
No, I have a joke.
I'll do two.
I can do one.
I'll do two. Okay. You gonna do a joke? What are you gonna look it up on, on
No,
the
no,
internet now?
no. I have it in my mind.
It's in your mind?
Yep.
Okay. What do you call a spider with 10 eyes?
I don't know.
Spider.
Oh, because of the eyes. Wait, but why 10? Am I not getting something?
I don't know if I like this. All right. Let's say you're playing peekaboo with Nathan and he gets injured. Where do you take him?
I don't know if I like this
Nose.
question
Go.
because where?
The ICU.
That was the one chuckle.
All right, last one.
One chuckler.
This one is the one that when my wife enjoyed the most.
Okay.
She hated all of them except for this one. I told her this one. A bear walks into a bar, and the bartender's like, "What do you want?" And the bear goes, "I'll take some whiskey and some Coke." And he goes, "Why the big pause?" He's like, "I was born with it."
That's a smile.
No, okay, she liked
Yeah,
that one.
that's a
Can I tell you
smile
the kind of joke I like? Since Sam has 0 jokes prepared. All right.
Where does Darth Vader get his shoes? Darth Maul.
Just give me the answer right away.
Yep. Where does Darth Maul get his shoes? Darth Vader.
I don't
Yes.
get that second one though.
Yeah, I don't think if you're a Star Wars fan, I think you get it.
Okay, I guess I'm not. The son goes to the dad. Dad, what's dark humor?
Okay.
Yeah, dark humor. So the dad goes, I want you to go over to that man over there sitting and shake his hand.
Okay.
And then the son goes, Dad, he has no arms.
Oh, okay. I don't think I should laugh at that. I don't.
Oh, it's terrible that you laughed. My wife hated that joke. She thought it was terrible. She goes, "That's terrible."
Yeah, that really is terrible.
Anyway, that concludes our joke section.
And so, continuing on with our content for today, this idea of a right fit or this idea of having to feel connected. I guess just kind of going into the mind of somebody that may be thinking like this. What do you think Christians are really saying when they say that they're looking for the quote unquote right fit?
Yeah, I think because we've talked about it so much, it's easy just to move on and answer this one directly. But perhaps it's good, especially for someone that's listening for the first time or someone that hasn't caught up to all our episodes, that we start from the beginning. We won't spend too much time, okay? But if we go to the Belgic Confession and we look at Articles 28 and 29, you can see this is actually one of the most clearest guidance on or for confessional/reformed Christians.
Would you like me to read it?
Sure.
Article 28 reads, "The obligations of church members. We believe that since this holy assembly and congregation is the gathering of those who are saved, and there is no salvation apart from it, people ought not to withdraw from it, content to be by themselves regardless of their status or condition. But all people are obliged to join and unite with it, keeping the unity of the church by submitting to its instruction and discipline, by bending their necks under the yoke of Jesus Christ, and by serving to build up one another according to the gifts God has given them as members of each other in the same body. And to preserve this unity more effectively, it is the duty of all believers, according to God's word, to separate themselves from those who do not belong to the church in order to join this assembly wherever God has established it, even if civil authorities and royal decrees forbid and death and physical punishment result. And so all who withdraw from the church or do not join it act contrary to God's ordinance."
That's Article 28.
Yep.
So again, just a quick summary is if you want to know what the true church is that you must or you are duty bound to join and unite with, the 3 marks are there. The 3 marks is the pure preaching, the pure sacraments or administration of sacraments, and the faithful exercise of church discipline. If it does not have these three, not only are you permitted to leave, but you are required to leave whatever church you are with now, because it's not a true church. A true church bears these marks. It doesn't mean that churches, if they have these marks, they're perfect, right? And that's what you read. So they continue to labor in trying to become perfect more and more. So going back to your original question, leaving then should be very exceptional, and it should be driven by weighty conviction, with prayer, with much effort before you leave. Okay, so if you are bound to a true church and you believe this is the true church, then if you were to leave, it would be exceptional.
So I guess knowing this, some people may still say, "Well, I'm just looking for the right fit." What are they thinking there? What are they saying there? And should we, as those who are plugged into a healthy church, should we be offended by that? Like, should we be upset about that? Disappointed about that? Like,
Well, I think this is in response to the culture that we face now, because culturally speaking, we have so many options in modern society that we have formed a culture where if this doesn't fit our contemporary needs, we can just move on, right? So I don't know if people really see the church as tied like a family is tied by blood, okay?
Right.
Because we're tied not just by physical blood like families are, we're tied by the blood of Christ, which one would argue is heavier than physical blood. So your tie with a brother or sister in the true church is heavier than, let's say, a tie between a sibling who does not believe in Jesus Christ, okay, who's not part of the church. And so understanding that, you would probably want to take, let's say, preferences, or I was going to say preferential styles, on a much less like weightier matter, as a much less weightier matter, like, music. Let's say, you're really into organ music, and the true church that you're a part of, they don't have an organ.
yeah.
Should you leave so you could get to a place where there's organ music? And I would say no. I don't think that is a heavy enough reason to leave a church. So, now it's more vibe than it is, let's say,
Vibes are high.
gospel
Immaculate.
or church integrity,
Right.
or your ability to obey Christ in good conscience. It's more vibes. Make sure you have the right vibes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right when you enter, do you have the right vibes?
Yeah. You
And
know it
so-
when you see it.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think we're fighting and pushing back against that culture. Not that vibes aren't important. You want good vibes, but they aren't the weighty matters that would make or break your covenant ties with the true church.
Turning the lights on ruins the vibes.
Unless you're really good. If you're really skilled,
Or your heart of seeing, I guess that doesn't ruin the vibe then. But
I guess. I mean, that's a physical matter. That's literally
no,
You're-
but
if you're blind, I guess that doesn't matter either.
I heard turning the lights on right when we start service ruins the vibes though.
Unless you're really good. If you're really good, you could turn on the lights and it's still going to be,
Magnificent.
it's going to be bumping.
That's why introit is so important. Well, that's not why, but
Well, I mean, so what was the original question? Was it about friends or vibes? I forget.
the original question is, what are Christians really saying or really thinking when they say that they're looking for the right fit? And you talked about this church consumerism that we have going on right now, where we're picking and choosing what we want, and pros and cons lists and whatnot, and how that's not wise, because there is such a thing as a healthy church, the marks of a true church. But I guess even when people know that, they still are looking for the quote unquote right fit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we still operate under that kind of culture, these auspices, right? Where you would go to a church because they look like you. So
Yeah,
let's say
yeah,
you're a yuppie, you want to go to a yuppie church.
Brooklyn, probably.
If you are Asian, maybe you want to go to an Asian church. Or maybe if you're Asian, you hate Asians, you want to go to a non-Asian church.
Right.
But that's the driver, right?
Yeah.
So the driver is something on the outside, like yeah.
You know, I've heard of people even say that they're not fed. They're not being fed. Is that a valid reason? And I think I've heard this being said even at good churches. Is that a valid reason
What?
to leave a church?
You want to leave a church? Why?
Because you're not being fed.
You're not being Yeah, I mean,
I've heard this like in a lot of different church.
yeah, like some people
contexts.
really like someone's preaching, and they'll go to that church because the preaching is good. That's not, I guess, one of the things that would constitute a reason to leave, because in the end, it isn't a mark of the true church whether the preacher can make you laugh, or you can vibe with him or something
Right.
like that, or he's really cool and you want to hang out with him.
Right.
And so let me go to that church. Whereas this other church, the pastor's really lame, so I don't want to hang out with him. Like, he doesn't even lift, he can't tell jokes, something like that. So I don't want to go to that church.
What about a situation in which, and what I want to try to get at by asking, what I'm trying to get at by asking these questions is, I think all of us to some degree, even though we know the marks of a true church, still have this weird consumerism effect in the way that we see church. And so, for example, let's just say a college student, right? Maybe even a college student from our church. They go to college and they find a church and they realize, hey, this church is really, really good doctrinally. They have solid expositional preaching. Gospel preaching is there. This is the true church. But it's all old people. And I'm a college student. Yeah. And not only that, I have to go out of my way to ride the bus or whatever, 20 minutes. But I have a campus church that's literally 10 steps from my dorm. And it's people my age. And I get it. They water down the gospel a little bit, but it's still church. I could do church here. And they're my peers. Isn't that so much better for me to go there than go to this old Presbyterian church with only old people?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about church. It's not a social club. We may have grown up in an environment, though, where we treated church like a social club. So if you grew up in, let's say, the immigrant church, perhaps, and I'm not saying all immigrant churches, again, I don't want a blanket statement, all of them, but some immigrant churches, perhaps, what they were more well known for is that, if you're an immigrant from, let's say, South Korea, you can go to this church because, they'll show you how you can live in the States. All the dry cleaner owners will be gathered in one place, and all the doctors will be gathered in another place. This is during fellowship time, by the way. And then all the, I don't know, what else did immigrant Koreans do? Whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And they would have these like little pockets. It's almost like Mean Girls, where, in high school there was the jocks and all that. And so Korean immigrant churches almost look like that, where all the people with similar, vocations, they would all sit together. And then you think that, watching this, the thing that you saw as a kid was, church is like a social club. But it's not, or it's a friend-making service. When you're there, you get to be with like-minded people socially, not doctrinally, not spiritually, but socially. And yet, the spiritual aspect can be there, meaning there's no doubt that your parents love Jesus and things like that. One of the things that we should note is that, maybe we can build on this, is that koinonia, or friendships or fellowship, is a fruit of genuine Christian maturity. Okay? It's what happens. It's what you have to devote yourself to and what continues to develop. It is not something that you just want to pop into. Because let's say you joined a true church with deep koinonia. Can you fit in right away? I think the answer is yes and no. Yes, in the sense that you'll fit in where they'll worship the Lord and you will be able to worship with the saints and you'll be welcome to worship, but no in the sense where you can't just jump into a 10-year relationship like you also were friends with someone 10 years. And I think that happened to you literally a few times, where someone new would come to our church.
I'm not known for that.
someone new would come to our church and they would want to jump into, let's say, a friendship with you, just like you had this friendship with
No,
Chunza.
I'll say then let's jump right in, brother.
And
That's what I would
then
say.
they were
Let's
disappointed.
get to it.
Well, they were disappointed that they couldn't have this really deep, significant and weighty friendship with you. But I would tell them, that's impossible, brother. You've only known Sam for a year or two. How can you have this deep relationship?
I don't think I'm a good example of this.
This is
This is random.
random. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You're getting all defensive.
No, I thought you were trying to say.
Why is he getting all defensive? Did this really happen? I guess it did. So whoever you are out there that's listening, I didn't have you in mind. Well, apparently for Sam, he was thinking about you.
No, I think.
But isn't it true though? Isn't it kind of crazy that you think that you can jump into any kind of relationship and act like you've been friends for 10 years when you've only been friends for 2 months? It just doesn't work that way.
No.
So if there's deep fellowship within a church and you join it, it will take time for you to also develop deep relationships. So if the church has been there for, I don't know, let's say 20 years, and these people were there for 20 years, and you jump in, you can't jump in like you've known them for 20 years. It just doesn't make sense. And yet, that's what a lot of people think. This is the fruit, not the foundation. This is a fruit. This is a result of the foundation of the Holy Spirit working in that church.
But I think the response that someone could give to that is, okay, I understand that about any other friendship, but this is Christ's body. I should be able to come into this church and feel comfortable because I am part of Christ's body. And so even if I didn't know somebody for 10 years, the fact that we are united together in Christ's blood should mean more than us being united like physically by blood, in the sense of like, I should be closer to you than you are to your blood brother because we are in Christ. And so sure, if I came in and I wasn't friends with you immediately, like, if I wasn't friends with you for 10 years, it might be different, but it shouldn't be different because we're in Christ together.
Absolutely. I agree with some of the things that you said. If the church culture is unwelcoming and they're just kind of in their own little huddles or hovels, right? I do think that that's a bad thing. That's not a good. The church culture should change so that they are more welcoming to other people. And so we should look into that. Maybe hire a consultant to help you with that. Stuff like that, okay? But, naturally, if the church isn't resistant to those kinds of things and they are welcoming, I think the thing that people expect is that I immediately become friends. I get invited to everything, which is not normal. We were talking about Memorial Day, and I asked you who you invited. You invited your close friends over to your house, friends and family. Maybe that's what you were thinking about, but I wasn't thinking about that.
I'm not thinking about
I'll give you my thing. Memorial Day weekend on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Which we forgot to mention last week. It was Memorial Day when we released, and to honor the fallen soldiers. But on Memorial Day, I spent it with my family, actually. And so, we spend it with our close ones, the people that we love, which is natural. So you're saying that because I'm part of a church now, shouldn't I be more open and to maybe even more than family? On Memorial Day, I shouldn't be hanging out with my parents. You should be hanging out with church people. Maybe like that's the pushback.
Not that you should be, but you could, in the sense of like, if I just come to this church for the first time, I should feel comfortable here because this is my people. In the sense of, these are Christians, you are my people. So I should feel comfortable here, and you should be comfortable in being my friend, even though you didn't know me for so long, because I am also of Christ.
Yeah. You're friendly on Sunday, but friendless during the week.
Right. So the issue becomes, everyone's so friendly on Sunday, and we know when I come to church and whatnot, but during the week, no one says hi to me. No one says anything. No one texts me. No one messages me.
My challenge to the person asking that, I know it's hypothetical, but I'm sure a lot of people do ask that, is, have you joined a small group? Have you joined a small group? And in that small group, have you been vulnerable like you would your friends? Because a lot of times what I also see when people ask those questions, those pointed questions, is when I go, have you pursued people? They're the ones that admittedly they'll say, I've only pursued these people that I wanted to pursue, meaning I came into this church and I really want to be friends with Sam, or or Brian. Let's say Brian because I used you a lot. I want to be friends with Brian.
Yeah.
This never happens though, but
No,
I'll be kind of like lying. No, I'm just kidding, Brian. So see, I don't know why he likes that so much. I want to be friends with Brian, and then he's like, Brian, can we hang out? And Brian's like, yeah, we could. Let's definitely hang out. Maybe in a few weeks. He's like, oh, bro, why a few weeks? Let's just hang out now. It's like, oh, I can't. I already have plans. I was
He
like,
always has
Brian
plans.
doesn't want to be my friend.
Yeah.
I thought we were supposed to be like brothers in
Right,
Christ.
right.
And if you say something like that, I think that's what most people say. I'd be like, why are you stuck on Brian so much? There's all these other brothers and sisters. I think some people have this like, they speak generally, but in my personal experience, it's specific. They go, I wish I had more friends. What they really, so maybe not 100%, but I have to say the vast majority, super majority plus, okay?
Okay.
The vast majority, super majority plus is they wanted to be friends with this particular person or group.
Right.
And they just couldn't get into that
couldn't
group.
fit in.
They
Yeah.
couldn't like penetrate that
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
And they became bitter because of that. For
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
I do think that sometimes it is a heart call. You need to really look at your heart to see if your heart is in the right place. And to do that, I don't think you could do it by yourself because a lot of times, whether we know it or not, we're very, very tunnel visioned on certain things. So if
Okay.
we feel like
Okay.
we're hurt by something or the church didn't do something for us, it becomes this tunnel vision thing where that's the only thing we can see. And to help us get out of that tunnel vision is why we keep on saying, have you spoken with an elder before you decided to leave? That's like the first question I ask, don't I? Like you've seen some of my responses to some people and I would say, have you spoken with an elder? Has someone walked with you through this process? Or did you make that decision all by yourself or quote unquote family? My family and I prayed. And so that's the kind of thing that people say. Don't walk, especially in a heavy decision like this. If you believe that the church is a true church, and the accusation is you're not preaching the gospel, you're not being doctrinally correct.
That'd be different.
That would be different.
That's rarely the case, though.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think rarely do people say that when they leave a church. They'll say something like, "I couldn't fit in," or "the vibe wasn't there," or "I wish you guys were more welcoming." I'm not sure, or too welcoming. Whatever the case is, right?
Too welcoming.
Yeah, there are things where people don't want to be bombarded.
Right, right.
And they've been bombarded by people. So churches really try to figure that out well, which is great. I think it's good that churches try to figure it out. It's just not, I don't think that is a standalone reason to leave a church.
I think you kind of answered this a little bit, or you touched upon it. But in this whole topic of fitting in, because that's one of the biggest things, right? Some people find it easier to fit in, others don't find it as easy to fit in, and when they don't find it easy to fit in, oftentimes it's easier to blame everybody else than yourself. And I think that's been an issue for a lot of churches, and even our church as well, where we have people that have been here for years that can't seem to fit in. And maybe they stop caring. Maybe they don't want to fit in anymore. But I guess the question has to be, if this is the case, right, what should the individual do? You touched on it a little bit, but what should the individual do? What should the rest of the church do? And does the leadership of the church have any responsibility in this? Meaning, is loneliness at church always the church's fault or the leadership's fault?
I think there is a shared burden here that the church should, bear. I'll give you a real example. It's actually a listener of our podcast. A number of years ago, he came to me and said, Pastor Eugene, I want to try other churches. I just can't seem to fit in here. And he had been attending for many years. And so I said no, which really surprised him. He thought I'd be more sensitive and walk him through. By the way, each person is different. And I don't say the exact same thing to every person. Hopefully, I'm a good enough under shepherd that I'll assess your personality and your needs and try to guide you according to what I believe is best for you. But for this brother, I just said no. He's like, what? And then he was kind of surprised. And I said, what you're going to do is you're going to try really hard. And if you can't find any friends here, you're just going to start your own kind of group and saying, if people have these similar likes, why don't you come over to my house? You're going to open up your hospitality and see if people take. And in fact, he did that, and he's actually still with us.
And I'm sitting here today. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not you.
Imagine.
You're the opposite, complete opposite. People come to me and they're like, I want to be friends with Sam, but he only invites his own group of people to his house on Memorial Day. That's what people say. The guys here aren't laughing because they were actually invited. They were invited. The people that are upset are listening to this podcast and be like, yup, that was me. I wasn't invited to his Memorial Day, I think.
No.
But, but that was actually a wonderful, I was able to witness a wonderful testimony of someone saying, this is a true church.
Right.
I'm going to, abide by what the elder said or the pastor said. I'm going to do what he asks before I really do give up.
But what if I'm introverted though? What if I'm introverted? What if I'm not naturally like that?
If you're, let's say, okay, because you're not introverted, I'll tell you, I'm introverted.
Me too.
If I go to a church and I don't find friends, I'm very happy. I don't care. That I'm truly introverted. I went to Tony Evans' church in Dallas, I believe, and it was a huge church. Multiple hundreds, maybe 1,000 plus people were there. And during the service, I think he said, if you're new, why don't you stand? We want to welcome you. I didn't want to stand.
Oh, I never stand.
I don't want to stand. The people next to me, they're like, aren't you new? You should stand. Because I was like the only Asian there, I guess. And so
I would never stand.
No, I still didn't stand. I still didn't stand. So after service, they came and shook my hand. It's like, I understand why you didn't stand, but welcome. I was like, yeah, I'm just visiting. I didn't think I should stand. And then I just left.
Yeah.
Didn't need to talk to anybody. That I think that's true introvert. I think you should have fellowship. Like the introvert needs to push himself to have fellowship. So if anything, the introvert would be happy that he has no friends. But then over time, the introvert should push himself to develop friendships. So when I first go to any meeting, if I'm part of any of group meeting or whatever, you'll know, unless I'm leading it, it's different. I won't talk. Maybe for years I won't share. What's the point of sharing? What do you need to hear from me? So, the group host might be like, why don't you share something? And then I'll share. But after like 6-7 years, I'll share unprompted. Because we're friends now. That's the introvert, okay?
I see.
And so I think for the introvert, the challenge to the introvert is you need to push yourself so that you are connected to other people. Because rejection may happen, and that's actually going to be worse for you. Because why did I do this? I was going to get rejected anyway. That's like an introvert fear. Extroverted people just go, and if they get rejected, go, those people are stupid. That's how the extrovert thinks, right? See, you understand because you're an extrovert.
I don't think like that.
Yeah. And so, they're not going to be invited to my Memorial Day barbecue. But I'm not saying it might sound like I'm a little bit, sad that I wasn't invited to a Memorial Day barbecue.
You're always invited.
But I have to say, I'll say for the record, that has no bearing on why I'm saying the things that I'm saying.
Right.
Anyway, and so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we put ourselves out there as best we can so that we can also be hospitable. We don't just leave it to the church to be hospitable and we're not, right? If you are a true believer in Christ, then you will be hospitable. You will be friendly. You also will be welcoming, even though you are visiting, you want to be welcoming, right? You're not just going to shut people down because you say, I'm an introvert, I'll shut you down. If people want to come talk to you, let them talk to you. If people want you to share, you can be vulnerable and things like that. And so in the end, it really is about humility and meekness, seeking the good of others before your own, right? And so you definitely want to do that.
So, I guess just kind of twisting the question a little bit, if someone can't fit in, should the rest of the church feel guilty about that? And so you just kind of touched upon what the individual should do in that kind of situation. But I've even heard of people being or feeling guilty because it's like, hey, this person is new or this person isn't as plugged in. I feel like I need to or I have to hang out with this person or I have to spend time with this person because it's really guilt driven. And it's not so much love driven; it's more of like guilt driven.
And then you'll be drained.
Right.
If you do everything guilt driven, you'll be drained. Like
start
there's only
counting
so much
like,
you could do.
oh, I hung out with 4 newcomers this month, so why do I have to do more? Like it becomes more of a chore and a duty rather than a joy to do. So I guess where is that balance? Is there a balance in which the rest of the church can welcome and bring in members into the midst of their fold at the same time, not be drained by it?
Yeah, I'll give you a lifting metaphor. Perhaps it'll make sense. So if you go too far, you'll injure yourself. You'll tear your muscles to a point where you need time to rest to recoup. Okay, which is what a lot of people do, especially under shepherds. Pastors do this all the time. They'll go too far, or you won't go far enough where there is no ripping or tearing of the muscle at all. So you're just kind of complacent. You're sedentary, and your muscles start to atrophy. So you don't want to go to these extremes. You want the right stretch, which is you push yourself to your limits, you get to that 7th or 8th, or maybe if you're into volume or hypertrophy, 10th, 11th, 12th rep, but 7th to 8th is good.
It's cardio at that
7 to, you don't want cardio if you're lifting, bro. Just stick with your 5x5 or 4x8, whatever it is, right? But don't do
cardio.
Don't do 3x12.
What are we, Mr.
Anyway,
Olympia over here?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Unless it's legs. Legs, you should do like 30 reps.
I just never do them.
I guess that's an option. And so what you want to do is you want to stretch yourself so that when the muscle fibers tear, and then when you are, getting reconstituted by inserting nutrients and supplements in your body, doing that rest, your muscles reform again and you're bigger than you were before, and then you can handle those weights, so you continue to stretch yourself.
Right.
So spiritually speaking, emotionally speaking, all these things, you see the correlation between that and the physical, where you want to stretch yourself. You want to go to a place where you are being stretched to a good degree. You don't want to be sedentary. You don't want to be complacent, but you want to go so far where you're injured. Now you need like 4 months to recover. I think that's stupid.
But how do we know that line though?
Well, that's great. That's a great question. How do you know where the line is? How does anybody know the line? So once you're stretching, you know you're stretching. I think a lot of people don't know that they're injuring themselves. I think a lot of people don't know that. They think they're stronger than they think. And so what I don't recommend is jumping. So I don't think you should go to the gym and just start lifting 6 plates. I think that's crazy. Okay?
Yeah.
You should go to the gym and try 1 plate. And if you're good, next week try 2.
Right.
And if that's easy, next week try 3, and then you'll see, oh, that's my limit. But some people just go one plate for the rest of their lives. It's kind of weak. It's weak sauce.
Yeah.
And they're wondering why they're so weak sauce spiritually. And some people go and they do like 4 or 5 plates, and they're so like tired and spent they never go back to the gym again.
Yeah.
Which is also stupid. So you want progressive overload, okay? And so there's wisdom in that, where you want to continue to maybe be welcoming and try more. If 4 is easy for you, try 5. But if 4 is like a stretch, then go back to 3 and get those 3 down good, and then go to 4, and then go to 5. Or if it's not about number, it's about depth. It's about the deepness of the relationship, right? It's not always a pure numbers game, right? And so, spiritually speaking, you want all the dimensions. So you don't want just, the number of people, but the depth in relationship. But also you want to know the heights where you can develop disciples so that they will also go and make disciples of their own, right? So you want to continue to bear fruit so that the people that, that you're witnessing to or discipling also start bearing fruit. There's all these things that you probably want to consider. Again, it's all in the Bible. So as we continue to study the Bible, there are all these dimensions that we become aware of that we can work on and grow in.
The last question for this segment is kind of tying everything in together. Should church ever feel uncomfortable? And what I mean by that is this: I think church will always be uncomfortable in the sense of if you're a sinner and the word is being preached, then you will be convicted in your heart of your sin, and so it will be uncomfortable in that sense. And so I think there's an aspect in which church will always be uncomfortable. But I think oftentimes people really, really chase comfort, and they don't like anything that gets uncomfortable outside of the conviction of their hearts. How do we assess the comfort level that we feel at church? How does that move us to welcoming more people, to sticking around? Like where is comfort in the sense of our relationship to a church?
Yeah, I think that's a very broad question, to be honest. And I'll try to answer it. It might be too narrow, though. So maybe some follow-up might be necessary. But I'll give you a personal example, an anecdote to try to push it to an analogy, if I may, where in my family, my dad and mom were both the oldest. And so me being born, I was naturally the oldest. On my mom's side, I was so much older than everybody.
Right.
And everybody younger than me, they're all, on my mom's side, they're all girls. So my sister, my next two cousins, like they were all girls. And like 10 years later, a male cousin was born, okay? Maybe more than 10 years, something like that. And so there's a huge gap. I've always wanted like boys my age in my family so I could play with. On my dad's side, most of them were in Korea. So the only cousins that I had on my dad's side was actually nobody. Nobody was there when I was growing up. And so I didn't have any cousins on my dad's side. And so, I kind of resented being the only guy that was this old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody else is kind of like a baby. What happened, though, was my cousin, and you know him, he came from Korea. Mm-hmm. He came from Korea in 1987, I think, or 88 or something like that. And so he came then, and then he's around my age. He's a year younger than me, but, he's still younger, but he's around my age. And I was so happy. But then, for the first 10 years of my life, I didn't have that, which I really wanted. In church, you could maybe relate to that. Maybe you're like me and you're the oldest, or maybe your kids are like that. Maybe your kids are the oldest or something like that. I remember I had a lot to do with, because churches kind of are like a stage. Now, most of my cousins are like your age. Most of my cousins, they're all your age.
Yeah.
They're all in the 1990s millennial age, right? So they're all really close with each other. And I'm still the oldest. So they look at me like, oh, he's the oldest guy of our cousins. And so they all look to me like the oldest guy. Look to me as the oldest guy, I should say. But then, which I don't mind. But I guess when you're growing up, it's kind of hard. One of the things that you get to see, though, is every single person in the church, no matter what stage you're in, whether you are in this innovator stage, which is what I call it. So if you are alone in, let's say, a stage of life in your church, I call you the innovator stage because you're the first of your kind. Whether you're in an innovator stage or you're in the follower stage, which is, you have a bunch of people. And so that's why that side continues to grow, because let's say there's a bunch of people who were born in the 90s in the church. And so if you're born in the 90s, you'll kind of fit in more easily than, let's say, if you're born in the 70s and you came to this church, which has a lot of people in their 90s or something like that. And so if you're in the innovator stage, I would like you to know that every single person that has been called to serve a church has been called. You have a role to play. Just like I have a role to play as a family member who's the oldest of the cousins. So they look to me as the oldest, and they'll ask me for guidance, or they'll be like, whenever he talks to me, like literally one of my cousins said, whenever he talks to me, it's like he's looking into my soul, or they say something weird like that. Only because I'm older, I just know it's not. I don't need to look into your soul.
Yeah.
I just went through this, so I can share some of these things with my cousins who are younger, right? And so If you're in the innovator stage, you have a role to play. You might not like it. Maybe you really, really want people your age, desperately want that. But maybe that's not the role that you are to play. Maybe you have a specific role. And sometimes that could feel lonely. However, it doesn't mean that it's not God given. Think about Samson. And I gave a sermon series on Samson. And Samson
Lonely guy.
was a lonely guy. And I don't know if people pick up on that when they read Judges. But if you continue to read Judges, and now that we've told you that loneliness is one of the themes there, you'll see Samson as a very lonely guy. Everything that he does, everything that he did was alone. He did all these feats of strength alone. And even when he thought he found the love of his life, he found out that he was alone because she betrayed him.
Yeah.
And guess what? He died alone. And so all these things, he found out that he was alone, except for one thing. What he never realized, or he never fully realized, was God was always with him.
Yeah.
So he was actually never really alone. God actually gave him more than he gave anybody else, especially in the area of strength at that time.
Yeah.
He was the strongest, literally the strongest. He could tear gates off of like walls and things like that. That's ridiculous strength. So God was with him, but he wasn't able to fully appreciate that until the end of his life. When he still died alone, we know that he didn't die alone because God was with him,
Right.
and he answered his prayers. That's a great, great story of Samson. I do believe that you're going to do that for our Wednesday teaching too.
Yes,
But-
in a couple months.
Yeah, and so you have a role, and that role is important. Whether you're a follower or you're an innovator, that role is important. So if you're alone in your church and you feel alone, it could be that God has called you to this place to be an innovator in the church. And don't feel bad about that. Actually be happy about that. Actually, that will build you. There was an interview recently done with Mike Tyson, with Theo Vaughn, I think. I don't know if you know these guys.
Yep.
But anyway, they're pretty popular cultural figures now, Theo Vaughn and Mike Tyson. And Theo Vaughn was talking about how Mike Tyson in his previous interviews would share that he had such a terrible upbringing. It was pretty terrible. And then, he said if you could go back, and Mike Tyson completely immediately cuts him off. Obviously he uses expletives, but I won't hear.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean go back? I would never want to go back. That's what made me who I am. If I went back and changed any of that, I would have become softer. I don't want to become softer. He loves the fact that he went through all this adversity because it made him into the champion, superstar, super strong, super feared boxer and fighter that he is, or he was then and now. And so some of the things that we get to realize is maybe God set us apart to forge us. And we should be thankful for that. Sometimes you may feel like you're alone, but just know that you are not alone. God is with you, but perhaps you've been placed in an innovator role or spot in the church to forge you as well as benefit the church, right? Because I could tell you, because of the way I grew up, I can say I am bringing some of the things that I was brought up by my family or forged because of my family upbringing to this church, to how I lead. You can see the people that I lead, for whatever reason, I treat them like my family, right? And so perhaps that's kind of like my upbringing too, because on my dad's side, we have like 7 or 8 pastors too, just in that one generation of my dad's generation. And so I got to see how all of them pastored, not just my father pastor, because he was a pastor. And so I got to see all of that. I got to kind of bring it all together, and then I got to, live it out here in how I pastor this church and how I serve this church. So whatever season that you're in or whatever role that you're playing in the church, I hope that you will consider that with gratitude, knowing that God is forging you, perhaps if it's difficult or if there's adversity in that season, it's to make you stronger.
I think that's a great way of thinking about it. The world may chase comfort, but as Christians, we know that discomfort does not necessarily mean it's a bad thing. We're being forged to be better members of Christ's body. And so even if you're uncomfortable talking to a newcomer, we want to be as welcoming. And even if you are a newcomer and you're uncomfortable plugging yourself into a church, that is Christ's body, and we want to be healthy Christians. And as we read in the Belgian Confessions, it's something that's important. We should take priority.
Yeah, if you're going to church to seek comfort, maybe we should check ourselves again. You know,
Chairs can be comfortable, though.
chairs are comfortable. I mean, I sat in this one chair, and after about 30 minutes, I was very uncomfortable.
In our sanctuary?
No. In a different setting.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was at a different setting. I sat in this chair. After 30 minutes, I was visibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
My father was next to me, and he was also visibly uncomfortable because the chairs were just not good. Maybe they were just objectively uncomfortable, or maybe that comfort, we got weaker because of it. Maybe we should be sitting on wooden pews again. I don't know, whatever it is.
Those are nice, except for the creaking.
Wooden pews?
It's too loud. Like if you need to go to the bathroom, it's too loud.
Why would you? Okay. If you go to the bathroom in the middle of service,
No, I'm just saying, what
that's
if-
an issue
no,
too.
but what if it's an
Go to
emergency?
the bathroom before service, and then if you're in service, hold it till after service, unless you have a chronic condition.
Yeah, if I had cheese
if you have
pizza
like
the night
IBS,
before.
or
Yeah.
if you ate cheese pizza and you're lactose.
Yeah.
That was unwise, by the way.
Unbeknownst to you, there was cheese.
Yeah, but if every week at this exact time you have to go in the middle of service, that's an issue, man.
I can name some people.
No, that's an issue. You got to work on that.
Yeah.
You got to work on that. Stop missing service.
It's true.
Because you have this internal clock that you set to the middle of service.
It's true.
That's a complete side note. Yeah. No. I had a friend who told me about how this person left in the middle of service every single Sunday. I said,
Yeah.
that person has an issue.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're telling you it's physical, but it's spiritual, I'm telling you. You can disagree all you want, but it's spiritual.
So you can hold your pee at church. It's okay. Speaking of comfortable and uncomfortable, I think that's helpful for us to know and think about. I think people chase comfort a lot, and for us, as we think through even sitting through Sunday service, is that really the point of it, to be comfortable?
Isn't that interesting, though? We live in a time where comfort is something that we value, and then we look at all of the church fathers, all the people that have martyred before us, the horrifying deaths that they had to endure
Yeah.
for the sake of the gospel.
Yeah.
I just read again that Tyndale was strangled, then burned, because he wanted the Bible in every person's hands, There are so many people who were tortured, and they went into it knowing that they would be tortured.
Yeah.
But how many of us could actually do that now? I hope and pray that we are raising Christians in our churches that can do that. More than we can say, did you find everything to your liking in our church? Are you comfortable here?
Was the
Instead
rice
of those
warm enough?
questions. Yeah. It was the AC on too hard?
Yeah. Did you have to bring your scarf?
People would say, it was a little too cold today. It's like, was it? Yeah. But yeah, Junzak's in charge of the AC, so if it was
Blame
too
him.
cold, blame him. But
Yeah.
he won't turn it off. The AC's gonna be blasting. you gotta keep you on your feet.
That's true. Thank you for that, Pastor Eugene. We're going to move on to our next segment, which is our current event segment. Today's current event is a video that has gone viral in which a man tries to part the Red Sea. No, not part the Red Sea. Part the sea. This is not the Red Sea, but there's a video in which, actually, if we just show the video. In the video, we see that this acting in faith, quote unquote, has gone bad. And, the reason why I wanted to talk about this silly video, although it has gone viral, people are saying like, this is Walmart Moses or whatever it is, which I think is kind of funny. But when I think about Reformed Christianity, I think we can get the stereotype of quote unquote sticking too close to the book, never really venturing outside of the book, which of course is a good thing. But I think at times it can seem like we're stifling the Spirit. We're never going out of our comfort zone like we just talked about. We're not allowing the Holy Spirit to work because you're a cessationist, which can lead obviously to accusations that we do not step out in faith. Interestingly enough, I think that's a term that I heard a lot when I was in a congregation that wasn't as reformed, or in circles that weren't as reformed. We were to step out in faith, just like in the Old Testament, New Testament. And whenever there were testimonies of somebody stepping out in faith, whether with good planning or not, it was always like admired and praised that they did a good thing. And in the video, we see someone that steps out in faith, and they get completely destroyed by the waves. The question is, at what point is stepping out in faith too much? At what point is it biblical? And at what point is it too little? Because I think people don't know the distinction. They think that stepping out in faith is going on missions with no care of how you're going to live. That's stepping out of faith. People think stepping out of faith is holding a staff and going out into the water and saying you're going to split the ocean. That's stepping out of faith. But what is actually a biblical way of stepping out in faith that we can see?
Yeah, isn't there that verse that if you have faith, a small
Mustard seed?
as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain,
Yeah, move and it'll move.
and it'll move.
This is Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. He said to them, because of your little faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, which is tiny, by the way, you will say
Tiny.
it's very, very small.
It's like a poppy seed tiny.
Whoa.
It's tiny. Maybe smaller.
Wow. You will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you.
Yeah. What was that in context of?
That was in the context of him healing a boy with a demon.
Yeah. So they couldn't drive out the demons. So he said, you have little faith, right?
Yeah.
And the point isn't that, I think everybody thinks that I don't have faith the size of a mustard seed. It's so minuscule. It's so almost nearly impossible to measure. The point isn't the size of the faith. The point is whether you have faith or not. Do you even have faith? Because if you go, do you have faith the size of a mustard seed? It means, do you even have faith, bro? That's what it means.
Right.
It's so tiny. Think of a seed smaller than a poppy seed. It's so tiny. And so you're like, do you even have this kind of faith? Because if you don't have faith, these things won't happen. If you have faith, these things will happen. If you have faith, it's not about the size. Because even if it was the size of a mustard seed, you could move this mountain. Because the point is, they couldn't drive out this demon. It was too much for them. And he was saying, do you even have faith, bro? Right? Do you even live, bro? And so he was saying that. If you really think that, you need to develop faith and you need to increase this faith to do certain things, maybe the real question is, do you even have faith? And I think that's one of the big misunderstandings of that passage. People always think about like the size of your faith instead of the object of your faith. And in Reformed circles, this should be something that we would have heard a lot. It's really about the object of your faith that's important. Do you have faith in the Lord? Then do His will. Don't just do it for magic tricks. Don't do it to show off, saying, look at my faith, because it's not about your faith. It's about the object of the faith. So are you doing these things to glorify God because this is His mission, His will for you in your life? Because Jesus sent them out to do this and they couldn't do it, right? Did Jesus go out and send you to part this wave, you maniac? That's not what it was, right? And so obviously this kind of misunderstanding of the Bible will lead us to do such ludicrous things where we think that we could part the sea and we could be Walmart Moses. This is not the way.
Yeah.
And so I hope that we can perhaps see this and maybe reassess even why are we doing anything? Are we doing this in faith, or are we just doing it because we want to look good? Because we might make fun of this guy, but at the same time, why'd you do anything? Why are you trying to excel in your work? Why are you trying to, finish this project, with this caliber at this time? Why are you doing anything? If you are doing it for your own glory, then what's the difference between you and him saying, oh, I'm doing it for God, but it's really for your own glory? But if you are doing this because you're doing the will of God, then yeah, do it in faith and it'll happen because this is God's will for you and you are going to complete it.
Thank you. Moving on to the media and culture segment. We should have a name for these segments.
Yeah, we should.
Media and culture. It is rumored. No one's sure yet. It is rumored, and the world is in an uproar. I guess, well, not the world. Some are in an uproar that Ellen Page, who is famously known for her role in Juno, if you've seen the film, is Achilles. Or not even Achilles, but a part of this movie as a man. I've seen a lot of reactions to this. There's a lot of outrage because Achilles in the previous movie was played by Brad Pitt, who at that time was in top peak physical form, people say. And so this hero Achilles, is now going to be rumored is going to be played by Ellen Page. It's kind of sad because it's almost not surprising. And we've come to a place in our society where movies can kind of just, do whatever they want. And even this story is going to be butchered in this way. Thoughts on, I guess, the movie?
The movie that we know nothing about.
I'm really excited for this to come out. But once I found out that it might be Ellen Page, it was tough. And I guess really, perhaps this may be the first of many movies to come in which now these gender fluid actors and actresses are playing roles of a different gender. How are we supposed to look at that? Like a huge blockbuster like Odyssey. Should Christians not go and see it? Should we actively go against stuff like this? Like, how are we supposed to respond?
I don't know. So Homer has epics, right? Mm-hmm. Two big epic poems. One is the Iliad, the other is the Odyssey. The Odyssey is the second one, where we hear about Achilles is the first one. In the Odyssey, he's merely a shade. And so the shade is like barely, himself, a full sense of himself. And so this is when, Odysseus, he tries to go back from a 10-year journey on the war. So it focuses on two things, right? It's about going into war and then coming back from war. These are epic poems because when you go to war, there's all these expectations and all these things that happen because you're going into war. And then when you come back from war, it's a completely different thing too. When you come back and the things that are on your mind and you come back to something that's completely different. Let's say you left, this home and then you went on this journey to fight a big battle and then you come back. And
10 years
you
is a
come
long
back
time.
10 years later.
It's a long time.
And you come back to your family 10 years.
Yeah.
You're not even sure if they're there.
Right.
Or they could be completely different.
Yep.
Your son could be like, I don't know you. I don't want to know you. That kind of, like all these thoughts are running through your mind. And the journey itself isn't easy. And so there are all these things, elements in Homer's epics. And so I think when Nolan wanted to have this undertaking of this great project of, putting the Odyssey on the screen, that was kind of a big project. I think a lot of people have very high expectations, and rightfully so. This is
big story.
This is actually Homer's epics are probably one of the key foundations of the West, just culture, Western culture. Okay, and so it's Alexander the Great, his hero was Achilles. You know that? He based his whole life around Achilles because that was his hero. And so we have all these amazing figures in history, and we believe that Achilles was a historical figure, as well as obviously Alexander the Great, who really looked up to Achilles and wanted to be just like him and things like that, and wanted to be the great hero he was. And so, these are things that we should continue to look out for. I do believe that the concern that people have, again, unfounded if I'm saying that they are true, but the concerns that people have is that this wokeism and Marxism, because now wokeism has been tied with Marxism, has invaded even our storytelling of these epic poems. Because remember, when this was written in 8th century BC. So this is like very, very, very old. It's 2,800 years old, right? And so if you're thinking that, and then we're going to try to now, with our modern sensibility and our, contemporary social lens, try to tell this story, I think people are afraid that because of the casting that they're seeing, that this will not be a faithful retelling of this epic poem.
I see.
I do believe that, you can look this up too, Junsuki Bibi, that the Greek society, they came out and they launched a campaign or a complaint against Nolan and the movie, saying that there are 0 Greeks represented. This is a Greek poem, right?
So we did not vanish.
What's the name of the group?
We're looking at Cosmic Book News.
No. Anyway,
There was a
I read it
letter.
somewhere, yeah. But yeah, this Greek society,
Greek City Times published a letter to Hollywood and Nolan's Odyssey, cast from us Greeks.
yeah. And so there are 0 Greeks represented. They were saying, not even one? This is a Greek poem about Greeks. Not even one Greek is there. So there's that. If it's kind of if we made a Korean historical film and we just cast everybody, like Chinese, Japanese, African, Russian, American, and cast 0 Koreans in this Korean historical film, how would Koreans feel? So I kind of see where the Greeks are coming from with this as well. So I think there is this whole cultural divide where you'll get angry even before the movie comes out, which is wrong, but many times their suspicions are proven right because we understand that Hollywood has been kind of, cannibalized by, they're like eating themselves through Marxism and this wokeism that has been now powered by Marxism, if that makes sense. So I would say, if the retelling of the story is not true to the story, then you should be upset. But if it's true to the story and it's just actual representation, like their ethnic representation, I wouldn't be overly upset. Look, we'll go back to this. We'll go back to the Korean example. If they're telling a Korean historical story, right, and there are 0 Koreans that are telling the story, let's say it's not even Korea that produced it. It's China that produced it. Mm-hmm. So China produced this Korean history, like this film, but it's pretty true and accurate. But no Koreans there, or only Chinese people. I would still watch it, to be honest, right? Because it's still true to the story. So if Nolan makes the Iliad true to the story, even though it doesn't have the ethnicity of Greeks, I'm cool with that, to be honest.
But I guess the question is, what if it starts going on liberal agendas and ideologies that we definitely
then it's
do
not true
agree
to
with?
the story, right?
Right.
Then it's not true to the story. They're just telling it from a Marxist cultural contemporary lens, which I wouldn't like. Same thing with the whole Korean thing. If they would tell, if these Chinese producers would tell this Korean epic or historical epic through a communist lens and saying, look at these Korean fools, or they would try to make it so that these Koreans are really communist, Koreans would be in an uproar, right?
And I guess the reason why I'm asking is there are a lot of Christians that would boycott certain media things because of the author. So, for example, a lot of Christians that I've talked to don't listen to Lil Nas X because he's a Satanist. He is also part of the LGBTQ. People that have seen cartoon shows with LGBTQ scenes don't watch it because for that reason. And so if let's just say Ellen Page really was cast as Achilles, in which then we're affirming the fact that she thinks that she's a male, is that enough reason for a Christian to be like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to watch that because then by watching this, I'm supporting what they're doing here. How far do we go?
I don't know. I think there's freedom of, I don't know. Just there's freedom in what you want to watch, as long as it's not sinful, inherently sinful.
Right.
I suppose. I
Right.
mean, it could be harmful to a good degree if you took your kids and the kids might be confused.
Right.
Like,
That'd be different, right?
But we watched John Wick.
Ooh, great film.
Isn't that like a glorification of gore and violence?
Murder.
Right?
Yeah.
Murder. That's not very Christian. I wouldn't want my kids to watch that. And so, if we were to watch anything, maybe we should put everything with the same kind of weight. If it's not going to be edifying because it's taking away from the truth and reality that God has shown us, then yeah, maybe we should take a step back before completely, giving it over. But if it's just like, yeah, I'm afraid that if we go too far and we're just going to hate on everything before we even see it, that might be jumping the gun.
Yeah.
Right? We should wait for evidence before we accuse people of anything. I don't see any evidence that this is going to be woke or anything like that, or I don't see any evidence it's going to be Marxist. Obviously, because it's Hollywood, the likelihood is there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not there. So if people, when it first releases and you go see it and people are saying this is a woke piece of trash, then perhaps you take that into account before watching it. I gotta tell you, after saying all this, we have a very conservative group in our church, and one of our elders, he's very conservative too, maybe more conservative than I am, very conservative, but he will watch any and every movie that's out there and he'll love it. He has like zero critical lenses when he watches movies, and he just is able to enjoy it. He just enjoys it for what it is. Maybe sometimes we need something like that. Just enjoy it. And if in the, after you've enjoyed it, you're thinking, maybe it's not the best thing to enjoy again and again, then step away from it. I think we have the freedom to do that. And then, unless we know it's inherently harmful, like we know it has like a anti-Christian message or something like that, then probably won't partake in that.
Thank you for that. On to our question and answer segment.
We need a beat.
What you got in the bag? What you got in the bag?
What you got in the bag?
The Q&A for today is, with us pushing for the local church, which we have been doing on this podcast, how far should someone commute to attend a church? This is interesting because we always talk about the fact that you need to be going to attending your local church, power of the local church, the importance and the emphasis of the local church. At what point does that church not become local anymore?
Yeah, we'll start off with again with the ground that we covered. Is it a true church? And is there a true church near you that you're attending? Then stay with that true church, okay? But if you've been commuting 2 hours to a church,
Right.
but there's a lot of good churches, like true churches in the vicinity. Why are you going 2 hours? Can you truly fellowship with that church? Is it, you just like the pastor or something like that?
Right.
Perhaps. I mean, we've had people that commuted over an hour to get to us too. If there is no true church, then yeah, go to that church even if it takes 2 hours. But if there's like a good church, solid, reformed, confessional, and it's 20 minutes from you and you could have koinonia with them, and the next church is the 2 hours away, go to the 20-minute one, right?
Yeah,
Go to the 20-minute one and then spend time there. I don't necessarily think that you should drive over an hour to get there when there's a good church there. However, I'll say this also as a caveat. I know of people that have a heart for ministries an hour plus away. I'll give you an example. You can live here in Bergen County and have a heart for the college students down at Rutgers.
Okay.
And you could plant a church there.
Okay.
And so that's a mission then.
Right.
So missionally speaking, you would go and as a missionary, plant the church there. So you be mission-minded in that sense. So people can do that. And people have done that. And people do that. And I would say for the most part, you probably want to stay within a close range so that you can continue to grow and mature in a local setting. because that's what the local church means.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Pastor Eugene. That's a great answer for us to munch on, if you will, on this Monday morning. We thank you for listening to this episode of the Dear Church podcast. Join us next week
From the retreat
from the
center.
Retreat Center.
Yeah, buddy.
That's going to be exciting.
We'll have more monster.
We will. We hope and pray that this has been a blessing in your ears. Fight the good fight. Finish the race. Keep the faith.
Peace.
Peace.